Welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. Find me out on Twitter at Clinton Bon, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Shelton. Find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod. Brandon, we got a job to do today after a 27-7 pretty much a whooping by our biggest rivals in their building. We got to come on here, and if you don't know 3 In, 3 Out by now, we find 3 good things to talk about, 3 not so good things to talk about. And this week, Brandon, the ledger felt pretty heavy on the wrong side, man. We got some work cut out for us. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I mean, what? When there's a shutout, we go 6 straight ins, and the Seahawks offense got shut out. So it's another 6 straight in show. Am I right?
No, oh. I mean, you can't do it. Can't bear to do it. We have to tell the truth Tuesdays. Tell the
I was counting on you. I was counting on you to be here to make me feel better.
Right.
And now I feel like, what am I doing here?
Right. I think we're going to have some of this will be cathartic. We have to get it off our chest. I mean, we had the instant reaction last night, but 3 In, 3 Out is different than the instant reaction. 3 In, 3 Out is to look at smaller moments, micro moments, singular plays, singular players, and kind of unearth what they did positively or negatively to find out, where do we stand after 2 weeks? One thing I will say is, hey, after 2 weeks, we're 1-1. We now play some winnable games, and we got a lot of work to do to be better, to compete against even some of these, what probably are bottom of the barrel teams. We got some foundational work to do. I'm a little shaken. I was pretty confident coming out of week 1 that we could have a pretty okay season. Coming out of week 2, I took a body blow or two. I'm a little winded, Brandon.
Okay. I'm still in wait and see mode for this entire season. So I guess I'm not as shook from yesterday. Well, mostly because I was counting on Trey Lance being able to play a full game against our team, and that didn't happen, unfortunately, for Trey, and probably unfortunately for the Seahawks, because I think that game would have been more competitive. But I don't think that's the micro moments that we're talking about getting into for this particular episode.
No, we'll get into them, and some of the bigger things that we won't talk about, in more detail, are just simply that, when we get behind like that, we also can't suffer from the types of penalties that we had. And some of those were, man, oh man, is there anything more frustrating in the modern NFL than when you do everything right, but you still get flagged for a PI 40 yards downfield, 30 yards downfield. And when I say everything right, you got early pressure on the quarterback. You make him throw, earlier than he probably wants to. It's underthrown because you got pressure or because he's Jimmy G. Your defender is stride for stride with the guy, and then all they got to do is just put on the brakes. Just stop. And then your guy careens into him. And it's this flag that just has become what the NFL is all about. It's I don't know, for me, probably the most frustrating play in all of football right now is that play.
Well, coach is going to have to figure out how to handle those plays, because if the NFL is going to keep calling it, then they have to figure out how to not be there when the guy puts on the brakes and is able to draw the flag. So that stinks. That's the way that it has to be, but that's for the coaches now to figure it out, how to fix that.
Yeah, they got to fix that, and they got to figure out how not to be there. And one place that we want you all to be, well, all several places, but I'd say we've been doing lots of stuff out on YouTube, and the reaction's been really a lot of fun. Growing that, doing lots more videos. So if you're out there, please youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube right now, well, there's that thumb, like that thing, subscribe, hit the bell, the whole thing already. And of course, the audio numbers have been, Brandon, just kind of smashing. Really cool to see. So even in this year of tumult and this year of change, and we don't know exactly what we're going to get, seems to be there's more and more 12s strengthening the Hawkra, even though our game might not have been that strong this past Sunday.
Yeah, well, the numbers that I were looking at were really good after a strong win last week. let's see how we do this week.
Yeah, let's see how we do this week. All right. So on 3 in, 3 out, we have one rule. We're not going to say it because we don't jinx things, but we do know that today we have to start on the negative side of the ledger. We have to start with an out. So Brandon, hit that button. Let's get to this thing. Flock, there was a lot wrong. So where to begin, right? As we talk about on 3 in, 3 out, we like to paint the canvas, like to show folks where are we at. This one's not, you don't got to go, if you're watching NFL Plus, you don't got to go too far to miss this one or to see this one again. Quarter one, 13:50 to go. This is a 1st and 10 from the 37-yard line. San Francisco's got the ball from their 37, and they run like a little 4-yard hitch to Ayuk. Little timing play, very, very simple, just a simple completion to Ayuk. And you got Josh Jones who comes up and gets faked out of his boots. And then that one missed tackle goes from a tackle that should have occurred about the 40-yard line, something like that, 41-yard line. It ends up on Seattle's 38, a 20 to 22-yard variance because we couldn't make an open field tackle basically within the first minute of the game. There's things to talk about there. I'll give the first out to Josh Jones because it set a very poor precedent for a game in which we saw that probably way too many times.
Josh Jones would be a good one to hand the O to. I think he deserves to share it a little bit, but because he got things kicked off the way he did, I'm fine with giving it to him, especially since he led the team in missed tackles against the 49ers. 15 missed tackles on the day for the Seahawks. Jones had 3. You had Kobe Bryant, who had 3. Again, rookie doing rookie things. So maybe a little higher expectations for Mr. Jones there. Our guy Nwosu had 2. Darrell Taylor also had 2. In fact, I think he had one of the bigger ones that led to an even bigger play. So, yeah, 15 missed tackles on the day, and 3 out of 15 for Jones.
Yeah, I mean, so it's tough to just it is more the macro set here, and it was the fact that it was basically within the first minute and was such a huge missed tackle where I'm like, all right, let's just start there because I think everybody that one's probably fresh in the brain because it wasn't like middle of the third quarter where this game kind of seemed like, we don't really have a shot. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that play. But real quick, talk about that Taylor play because I'm not recalling it. What was his missed tackle? Do you remember the circumstance?
The one that I'm thinking of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it was a Debo run play, and Darrell Taylor got a hand on him in the backfield.
Oh, yes.
Could have been a tackle for a loss, or maybe he slows him down enough time for a guy to get there. But then I think slipping out of that tackle, and Debo does this a lot. I mean, he's a guy who breaks a ton of tackles, but then it resulted in what, a 40-yard run?
Yeah, that one. Right. Yeah. Speaking of like, putting on the blinders later and be like, la, 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 la. And I did rewatch this, but I kind of rewatched in like, okay, 10-second increments. Cause I frankly didn't want to rewatch the whole thing, play by play. Yeah, that was really bad too. Good point. I don't have Taylor on the ledger because I think he's part of the macro set of we didn't get any pass rush. And he's got to be held accountable. He's got to be better. We have to be better at that. So didn't have that there, but great that you brought it up because it's just we got to tackle. We can't. Week 1 was like, all right, the preseason was just the preseason. We brought our hats. We tackled. Week 2 was like we look like we're still in preseason mode and we don't know how to tackle again. Credit to the players making the miss. We got to make open field tackles. Our variance for how many of those we could mess up per game and still win, way too low right now. So the good news, Brandon, is this is 3 in, 3 out. And even though we didn't score an offensive point now going on 6 quarters, there is some good stuff to talk about. So let's hit that whammy. Let's get to some of the good. All right. So quarter 4. 13:30 to go. It's a 2nd and 7. Now the 49ers had the ball on their own 48-yard line. And I'll preface all this by saying I thought our defense was markedly better in the second half of the game. Markedly better across the board. And that's with a better quarterback playing. Now, a different quarterback playing in Jimmy G, different in the sense that you don't have to wait for the threat of him to use his wheels the way Lance was trying to, albeit, in retrospect, odd choices for me to keep running him up the gut. And I hope the dude heals up. That stinks. He's a young man. With that though, Jimmy G's a better quarterback. He just is. And yet the defense, and I'm not the X's and O's guys to be like, oh, they made this sort of mid-front adjustment, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. There's some other great shows that will recap that and figure out on the all 22. I could just tell you what my eyes saw, but some of the players too, this particular one was Mafe, right? So this particular play, 49ers run a pretty elegant offense. And when I say elegant, even though it might not be the most explosive, when they're doing what they're doing, it's kind of like what we expected a lot of the Waldron offense to do. The emotions and things crossing in front and pulls and pulling tight ends, pulling guards. This particular play, they're pulling the tight end and the guard over. So, Nuosu stands up the pulling guard. I mean, it's picture perfect. I'm sorry, Mafe. I apologize, Mafe. And because I got Nuosu on the brain, Mafe stands up the pulling guard, but it's technically beautiful looking. He pops him right under the shoulder pads, literally like lifts the dude off of him, presses him, sheds him. And then the Niners' best back in the day was Wilson. Jeff Wilson's got the ball. He can't go where he wants to go. He has to try and get outside. And Mafe's got the athleticism to say, no, not so fast. It's like a 2.5-yard tackle for a loss. It's a beautiful play, and we saw more and more of that, start to see hints of it last week. And we saw more of it this week. So if I could be bullish on something, the rookie Mafe in some edge setting run defense, he was better this week. And this play was outstanding, in fact.
I would like to see more Mafe on the field. In fact, he was, by Pro Football Focus's account, the top rated defender for the Seahawks. Only 23 snaps on the day. And I think most of those, if I remember right, were coming in the second half. And yeah, run defense, tackling. He was graded a little bit lower on the pass rush, but so was, I don't know, everybody on the Seahawks. So he did have the only sack for the Seahawks on the day, which I wasn't even sure if it would go down as a sack. Because
me neither. I was surprised I was surprised to hear that they registered. I was like, oh, okay. Well, maybe hopefully he's got some sort of rookie incentives, and then hopefully he gets to that because of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so the one tackle for a loss, it registers in the stop column for him, and he had 4 on the day with only playing 23 snaps. And just to give you an idea of where that lands, Al Woods had 5 stops on the day, played 41 snaps, so more than Mafe. And Jordan Brooks had 5 stops, and of course, he played all 76 snaps. So for Mafe, in that play in particular, but it just, again, it's that one play, and it kind of shows you just what he was able to do while during his entire time in the game, although in a limited basis. I want to see more Boye Mafe.
Yeah, man. Chef Boye Mafe. Let's go. All right, let's do it. Next one. Now I want some SpaghettiOs. I realize that's Franco-American. I'm not getting my pasta canned brands mixed up here.
You're going to be in the doghouse now with the family.
But I could go. It's been a long time. I could go for some SpaghettiOs and meatballs. I could. It'd be nice. All right. So what I don't want to go for, but I have to because it is what we bear here on 3 and 3 out. It's quarter 3, 44 seconds to go in quarter 3. It's a 2nd and 4. We are on our own 18-yard line. And with that, we have some momentum. We made it 20-7 with that brilliant play by Tariq Woolen. Again, others will talk about that. We talked about it last night. That's Woolen jumped off the page athletically, played good corner. Very happy to see that. That freaking field goal block, just tremendous. And Mike Jackson, Johnny on the spot. So we actually had a little bit of momentum, a little bit, and an opportunity to get back in this game. This is where on 2nd and 4 from the 18-yard line, we decide to, hand it off, which is in and of itself, okay. We wanted to run the ball because we just had a nice 6-yard run. One of our best runs of the day sadly, to Penny. But it was okay. First down, we get 6. Cool. The next play, Parkinson and Lucas decide not to touch Nick Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's to blame there. Lucas looks inside first and then looks and goes, shoot, right? And Parkinson just releases, doesn't touch him. I just don't get how that happens. And whether it's the combo, one of them, it's just an out because it deadens so much of that. And then, by the way, I gotta say, we run a little, a Geno play to the left where he gets like 3.5, 2.5, 3 yards. And then we punt down 20-7. I know we're in our own zone, but we needed to convert. We punt the ball away to start the fourth quarter. That whole sequence has got to be an out, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Because initially when Geno came up so close, I'm thinking, okay, go for it. But then when I actually saw where they were on the field, I don't know if you can go for it in that situation.
You had to, though. You have to. It doesn't. The game's. You're starting the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
we haven't scored an offensive point today. I was, and I'm not even making the out for me is the fact that we didn't block Bosa because the rest of the plays blocked pretty darn well. But I was really disappointed. I don't care that we're at our own 22. It doesn't matter. We're not winning that game unless we score. We got to score. We got to score 2 more touchdowns to get back in that game. Once we punted, I was like, well, that's it. We officially lost this game. That was frustrating.
We lost this game long before, and I know you said earlier that the defense, they looked better in the second half. I hate to go back to this, but it's also a little bit different for the opposing offense when you're playing with a 20-point lead. So, yeah, the defense, I guess, kept them in check to an extent in the second half, but I do think that the 49ers, they took they weren't putting the ball in Debo's hands as much in the second half of the game. And I think if that game is closer, we see them feeding him the football a whole lot more. To go back to the out though. Yeah. The best player on their defense and you don't get a hand on him. And it's in this key moment that if you're able, you just, like you said, you got 6 yards. You're ahead of the sticks now. All you have to do is have a couple positive gains, and you're going to start.
You're moving.
You're moving, and it's the second half. And yeah, you're down 20, but coming out of halftime, you get that first score.
We're down 13. This is after the block. We're only down. We're down 2 touchdowns. It's not over yet. Is the point. So
I was thinking that was coming out of the third, but no, you're right. After
it was the end of the third, going into the fourth. Yeah. Right. But and that's why I was so much like we really should have just went for it on 4th and 1 because it's the punt to started the fourth quarter. They came back from commercial too, which is like, all right, they've got to go for it. They're going to go for it. There's no way they don't go for it. And they come back from a commercial and you see Dixon receiving the ball. I'm like, it's just, it's disheartening. It's disheartening. Like we talked about in the instant reaction, it's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, so, but all right, we got some more stuff to get to. Let's get to the next thing. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay.
If you want to become a member of the flock, you can go to getintheflock.com. $3 a month and above get you into our Discord group where we're chatting throughout the day. And also a channel right there for your ins and your outs. We're going to get to those in a little bit in our From the Flock segment. And I know it's time. It's time for another. We're back on the inside, right?
We're back on the inside.
Thank goodness.
Oh yeah, a real pro. You did that nicely there. All right, so now it is Q1, 2:15 to go. It's only 3-0 San Francisco. We had the bend but don't break thing going early. They had that opening drive, 5 minutes goes away. They get a field goal. They get the next drive. They come down. Trey Lance gets banged up. This is 3rd and 6 from our 19-yard line. San Francisco driving. It's Jimmy G's first snap of the game. Now, it results in a 4-yard gain. Don't know. I forget if it was Ayuk or whoever it was. It's a 4-yard gain over to the left-hand side. Nice tackle. And they have to kick, the second field goal. Where I'm sitting there going, hey, all things considered, 6-0 right now, A-okay. The end for me on that play is Nuosu, this is like an encapsulation of the dude's been a plus player so far. Jimmy G's first snap of the game, Nuosu comes off the edge. Jimmy G releases it quickly, quick hit and play, still gets a really nice hit, lays a lick properly on time, shoulder to the side, but just puts a hurting right on Jimmy G right away.
Mhm.
And in my brain, I know the results don't go the way we want. In my brain, I'm like, all right, those kind of licks add up, and that's his first snap of the game. So loving what I'm seeing from Nuosu in general, and want to give him some props. So giving that in for that play, and in general, the way Nuosu has shown out now for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then the problem is that we didn't see a whole lot of pass rush in the backfield from then on. But this is an in. This is an in, Clinton. And Nuosu coming in on that. Also, credit to Kobe Bryant getting the tackle on Ayuk on that play. But yeah, it was nice to see him in the backfield early. And man, oh man, that's what like you said, you want to see more of that throughout the game.
And it was light, and it was not nearly enough. And Jimmy G is the type of quarterback that if you can get him a little frazzled, he is prone to cough the ball up. He's prone to do that 1 to 2 bad overthrows. Doesn't see a linebacker type throw, something like that. Overthrows a receiver by 5 healthy yards, and it's in the free safety's hands. He typically does those once a game.
So a question for you. Do you think that it's on, do you give a pass to the coaches then and say, you weren't planning on playing Jimmy G, so you weren't going to bring that much pressure against Lance? Or do you say, hey, you've played Jimmy in the past, how do you not know to dial up and frazzle him a little bit?
100% that one, right? We've had years and years and years of playing this guy. And it wasn't like Dak Prescott going out last year and Cooper rushes in and we're like, Cooper who?
Yeah.
It was not like that whatsoever. We should change. We should change right away. And where it's can be very disadvantageous to blitz, the Lamar Jacksons of the world, right? If you saw his numbers against the Dolphins when they blitz, it's insane. It could be the opposite with a Jimmy G, especially again if you're getting some pressure right up the gut coming through the A gap, which we saw last week. Jamal got hurt on the play like that. Barton got his sack on a play like that. Didn't see it. Didn't even see it attempted. So that was frustrating. And I will say, second week in a row, no Miles Adams. Healthy scratch, Miles Adams. We are struggling to create pass rush. He can, and then Shelby Harris gets hurt, the other guy who could really create pass rush up the middle, and it was not there. And as much as I love Big Al Woods, Captain Thigh Arms, love him. He played a really good game. He ain't that. He's not gonna be creating pressure, for in the A gap. So that was sincerely frustrating, man.
All right. We're expecting you then, as this in goes to an out.
Yeah.
We expect this to be an in next week and Miles Adams to be getting that in.
Yes. I love it. Hit the whammy, please. Okay, Flock. We got one more out. And then I guess, we have an in. We'll get to that too. And we'll be able to put a bow on this one before the From the Flock section, of course. This out is, nobody needs a timestamp on this one because it's you remember it straight away. The DK Metcalf circus catch on the trickery play. Beautiful catch. And really loving that DK is making the difficult contested catches through 2 weeks. Coming back on balls, high pointing, things that we saw. He's not going to catch all of them all year long. However, he's been really good so far with these contested balls, which is something we're like, if he could only add that to his game, watch out. Now we got to add volume to that game to really watch out. And then there's a flag, right? So Brandon, take this. I know you know this one well. Take it away from there. There's some dirty laundry. Who's it on? What's going on?
This is one where Abe Lucas did get called for an illegal man downfield. And for people who, I know some penalties, if you're not really into the game, it leaves you scratching your head. Like, why did they throw a flag there? I know illegal formation penalties can be kind of weird sometimes.
Sure.
Illegal or ineligible receiver downfield. That's so you had Abe Lucas, who, we love the dude because he's a physical offensive lineman, and he was blocking his guy too far downfield. And that's the problem that you get into with running some of these plays, is that on a trick play like this, you're trying to fake the defense out into thinking that you're running the football. And so all of the offensive linemen, they need to block as if it's a run to the right side. Now, the trick is that it's not a run, it's an actual pass. And if you have any of those linemen crossing the line of scrimmage more than a yard or two downfield, the officials are going to throw a flag for having guys downfield who aren't allowed to be on a pass play. And everybody else, they stayed within that particular zone, except for Mr. Abe Lucas, who was, I think, trying to pancake the guy he was blocking.
And it's tough to penalize a guy for doing his job really well, because like up into the moment, he's just destroying his guy. It's like destroy all monsters. Like, yeah, he's the guy he's just pushing him back. And with that, it's a kind of a flea flicker, if you will, like a toss back across the field. By the time Geno Smith is throwing the ball, Abe Lucas's guy is literally probably 15 to 20 yards, if you go A to B, away from Geno. Like it's not just hey, you got to stay in the moment. You got to understand that this is a trick play, and you got to be aware of that. And also, it's being tossed in the other direction. Like, your dude, he ain't getting there. So you did your job.
I liked how they set up that play too, right?
Yes.
They shifted the whole line to the right, and then Geno, he didn't have really anybody around him then when they pitched it out to him, and he had wide open field in front of him to look downfield.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice setup. And then DK was still fairly covered, but makes a great catch. It was covered, in fact. It makes a wonderful catch. So there were these big momentum swings. And again, it being 3 and 3 out, we're not going to talk about the DJ Dallas pass, but there's just certain things that are like, and then not the Lockett fumble, but the punt, the punt push fumble. There was just certain plays where we can't absorb dumb.
Right.
We're not, very few NFL teams can, and the elite ones can, to a certain level. We're not elite. We can't afford dumb penalties. So unfortunately for Lucas, it's for the rookie. He takes the O. It goes in that category. Don't do it again. We still love him. We still love Abe's House of Pancakes. We want more of it. And we'll see some next week, I think, against Atlanta. So let's stay to the positive and finish on an in. So it is 3 and 3 out. It is the sober yin, the raging yang. There is symmetry. It is purposeful, intentional symmetry. And, first he giveth, then he taketh. On one side, we have Abe Lucas with the play that we just talked about. On the other side, all right, we know the run blocking, not good. This is an in. We just recognized run blocking was BAD with a capital B, capital A, and a capital D, all of it. With that, pass blocking, Charles Cross, we look back, it's not one play. He allowed a single pressure. One pressure. This is a good defensive front seven. Very good.
Yep.
World beater Bosa on one end, and they got players throughout. One pressure. This is a rookie in his second game of the year, first road game. Just got to lay it there and say, that's an in.
Yeah, and not to turn an into an out, which we've been really good at doing, or I've been really good at doing, to be more accurate with the blame. Gabe Jackson on the day, 6 pressures for the veteran. Not his first road game. But I think that contrast is important to point out just how well the effort is for Cross, that either the 49ers saw an opportunity to exploit Jackson in this particular game and send pressure in that spot. Well, that's where they were sending the pressure, and not at Cross and not at Lucas either, who had, I think, maybe a pressure or 2 on the day. It was mostly going at Jackson. And so for Charles Cross to finish a day, if you would have told me, 1 pressure, for Charles Cross with the San Francisco 49ers defensive line, I would have asked, did he only play one series?
Right. It would probably be like, hey, we scored some points offensively, right? That might be, hey, because it was good. It was good pass blocking. And to kind of sidecar this for just a second, I see people kind of getting on Geno and beyond Geno can't do this. We're down 13. He can't do that. He's never coming back from 20-0. Okay. Sure. I guess.
Russ didn't come back from 20-0 all that often either.
No, he did not. And he was 24 for 30, and I realized some of those, a lot of the average yard targets, air targets. I get all that. I realized it was conservative by nature. Okay. He was still 20.
Geno holding the ball a whole lot against the San Francisco 49ers defense.
Right. Exactly. Precisely. You want short things that you could complete with a high percentage. And we did that. At the end of it, we took him off the field and ran a version of Wildcat where we had a running back throw interception when it was 13-0. And then when it was 20-7, oh no, sorry. So at that point we throw the interception. They come back and we stop them again. That next drive, we stop them, they punt and we fumble it, give them the ball on the 20. So, I mean, that's the sequence, I know we just went through the ins and outs that were more micro, but don't get on Geno. I mean, it wasn't Geno's call to be like, yeah, let's go run the Wildcat. Let's have DJ throw this ball up. That's not on Geno. And I don't want Dallas to throw that ball either, but that's on the play calling and that ain't on Geno. So I just want to say the two piece there, my 2 cents there, because just like seeing Geno's trash. He hasn't scored in 6 quarters. Was his process good? Did he make the right reads for the most part? Did he deliver the ball on time for what was called? I don't see a trash quarterback. I see a dude who's operating the way he's asked to right now. Didn't go our way, but I don't put it at Geno's feet, man.
In defense of the people calling for Geno, if you're going to go more matchup based on the San Francisco defense, does Drew with his mobility maybe give you a better chance to get out of some of those? Now, Geno, like you said, the end is the pass blocking. Geno hung in the pocket, delivered the football, and I think how many sacks did he take on the day? It wasn't a ton. I know he got one where just things weren't open downfield. But yeah, I matchup based though, I could see people thinking that Drew maybe gives you a better chance with his mobility against the Niners defense.
Listen, the way we ran the ball, we would need Aaron Rodgers back there to have a chance. And by the way, when Aaron Rodgers had no run game, there was a couple of lean years where he missed the playoffs a little bit in a row there. And Drew Brees, remember when Drew Brees didn't really have a run game when they suffered during that little drought? We're talking like best of best in the last 20 years of football. When they couldn't run the ball, their teams weren't good.
Right.
So you watch the Sunday night football game and you watch Rodgers, carve up the Bears fairly okay. And it's because Aaron Jones is just gobbling up yards every single chance because they're blocking well. Mm-hmm. Our run blocking was beyond bad. So again, we let's rein it in because this is more the macro and we like to stay here, but it's hard. We gotta let it out also. We got to talk about it. Right. Yeah. And we'll have an opportunity next week to improve and we have to. I mean, there's no way Carol's going to watch this and be like, you know what, guys, the answer is 40, right. 45 attempts from Geno. Like that's not what's going to happen. It's gotta be, we got to run the ball better and we'll see. But I guess my point about Geno is let's just see when we run the ball better. Can we
I would like to see it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Before we get to From the Flock, Clinton.
Yeah.
Do you want to address a grave mistake that you made in last week's show?
Yes, I do. How do I say this? So last week in the victory, Brandon and I were in a very celebratory mode and still riding high, buzzing from that mile high victory we had over Russell Carrington Wilson and the Denver Broncos to make them go 0-1 and improve our draft pick. In the hubbub, I forgot to award the MVC, the most valuable cranny to any of the inns, which is 4 because we had the brand in.
Mm-hmm.
It has become a tradition. We have a real physical trophy that we send to the VMAC that gets put on display in their lockers. And if you're watching any of the reporters, you can see it almost every week after a win. And I forgot. So from the bottom of my heart to the 12s, to the flock, to all the folks who might have won the MVC, because I can't turn back time. I'm not Doc Emmett Brown, and I'm not going 88 in this DeLorean. I apologize. I screwed up, and I need to do better.
Do you think that the absence of the MVC after such a big win, like not having that physically in the locker room for all of the players to walk by that guy and say, dude, you did it. This is a coveted award, and we want to see it every week after a big win. Do you think that absence in the locker room, it brought this emotional letdown on the team to win? Like, they get on the plane, they're getting on the bus to get on the plane to head to San Francisco. Like, man, this week, it was a fun win, but I kind of miss seeing the MVC trophy because it didn't get delivered.
Why don't we get to From the Flock? What do you say there, Brandon? All right, folks. So From the Flock is this glorious section where we read what you wrote. And so basically it's like you hit us on Twitter at Clinton Bond or at Seahawkers Pod. You hashtag it 3i30. And then, hey, I'm going to read these out live with Brandon as well. And then the other way to make sure you get these in is if you're in the Discord, you become a member of the Flock at gettingtheflock.com. You get in the Discord, or you're a member of the Facebook Ring of Honor and you drop that there and you tag me there. And we compile them each and every week and we read what you had to say, because the whole spirit of 3 in 3 out was to really kind of do this gathering of the vibes and the masses. So From the Flock, Brandon, why don't you lead us out of the gate here with the first one from Twitter?
Starting things off with Derek Williamson. Follow him out on Twitter at DerekW0. Says, an in to thigh arms, proving some much needed plays in the backfield.
Yes, and just remember, folks, Keith Ketover, Flocktimus Prime, as you likely know him, in the Discord said, we said big old Captain Thigh Arms. And Keith said, because he's smart, he said, why did you just call him Captain Thigh Arms? So Derek, we love the in. And next time, let's address the gentleman by his official name now, which is Captain Thigh Arms. Thank you very much.
If you're going to abbreviate it at all, you at least have to have the captain in there. And you can even go military rank and go CPT. We'll understand.
Sure.
You have to have, like, at the very least, again, Captain Thigh Arms, but official title, big old Captain Thigh Arms Al Woods.
Right. That's the longer family version, if you will. And we have Lloyd Zilla out on Twitter. So what a great name, Lloyd Zilla. He says, tough to find ins tonight, but our goal line defense has been excellent in both games. I can't argue with Lloyd Zilla. First of all, great name. Second of all, our goal line D has been stingy.
It was up until the final moment where they gave up the final touchdown. I'm glad I did not have the 49er. I almost took the 49ers under 24. And that would have I think it would have set me over the edge.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one on PNW Prop Stars. That busted my bubble.
Oh, no.
Well, that is what it is. I had Seattle. I took Seattle getting 14.5 and then plus the under at 47.5. And I'm sitting there going, there's just no way. There's no way. And much like Jurassic Park, Vegas finds a way. Scott
Campbell, he found a way to get his in red and ins and outs at 33. Scott Campbell says an out for missed tackles. We had 1,000. That's a good rough estimate, Scott.
Yeah, that's about right.
Out, not going for it on 4th and 1 when we had the momentum down 20-7.
Talk
out
about it.
The penalties just bailed them out all day, and got some ins. Denver fans booing Wilson. Yeah, that was all right. The game finally finishing. That was a plus. And an in to, there's always next week.
Look at Scott, stay on the bright side there. The Denver fans counting down the play clock is absolutely hysterical. That's hysterical.
I'm kind of mad that we never did that on
I know, right? After a decade, it's like, What are we just sitting there mouthing and like 5, 4? Then like we do the Wayne's World points at 2-1. We can't even say it out loud, but yeah, they're their first home game. They're like, let's help him out by counting down. Freaking hysterical. I loved it so much. Hold on one sec. I got to put on my peepers, Brandon. Small
Okay,
font.
I'll get Frost. You can get Michael Dixon's big balls next.
Thank you.
So glad I said that out loud. Frost says, and I know, we all know Captain Thigh Arms Al Woods has earned an in a game largely filled with outs. Yes. In for Lockett as well. He's out here making big time catches. In for adding creativity to the offense. We saw that down near the goal line, even though that creativity didn't work out the greatest. And an out for it not working out.
Yes. So he runs the gamut there nicely. Hey, we didn't mention Tyler Lockett one bit. One of the reasons I like From the Flock is because it just, what do you want to talk about? And Lockett is just that consummate professional. And he just goes off in a game where we don't score any points, and he's over 100 yards again. Like, what was he, 8 for 10 or something like that? In terms of attempts over his way. Just Lockett doing Lockett things. Dude's a lovely player. Speaking of lovely players, Frost had one. So I'm going to pass you back the big balls there. But Frost had one more that said in for Tariq Woolen. No give up in that kid. What I love the most about that play, besides the fact that it was a sheer freak athlete play, he springs back up and he's the one charging down the field with Mike Jackson, probably just because he can.
The one thing that I really like about Discord is, just much like our Pick'em League with the creative team names, we have a lot of people in the Discord that, you have like B-Wag's biceps. It's a player and then one of his things. And with that said, we have Michael Dixon's big balls in Discord. Says, out, as maddening as the game was to watch, it was made all the worse to listen to, but the dip bleep Homer commentators.
Yep, he didn't like them. They were not great. And a lot of it came down to the penalties. Like, well, look, you can't do that. It's just like, okay, dude, I've seen that called 1,000 different times the other way, but sure, you're 100% right that they must flag that every single time. Come on, a little ridiculous. All right, we're going on to, I think it's Never Rum in the Discord. Out, play calling in offense, it was terrible all game, devoid of quick plays to avoid the 49ers rush. I'm not sure about the last part. I thought there was I thought Gino was still doing the quick stuff, but I can't argue about that. The play calling was not great, and that because it has some egregious mistakes.
Right. Hawk Van Dyke comes in, I think, with 3 ends, and you put this in the smallest print possible. I think it's just 3 dots after that.
Just the ellipsis, just buffering, waiting, basically.
Right, and then out to the legend of Geno Smith, 9-12-22 to 9-12-22, RIP.
Yeah, so he's casting Geno off. I'm not there yet, so let's let Geno season.
I couldn't blame Geno for that game. There are so many other things that I can cast blame on in this game against the Niners, and Geno is probably outside of the top 5 on my list.
I completely agree. All right, so Kyle McDonald in the Seahawkers Pod Ring of Honor on Facebook says, in Quandre having the savvy to know to drop the easy pick because it gave the team better field position. So in hindsight, should have taken that stat, but very selfless, especially after he missed the one last week. I sense a little bit of snark and perhaps a wee bit of sarcasm font here from Kyle McDonald. And, we got the ball at like the 40 instead of the 20, and that was good. And, Quandre made a nice play, but it was good that he dropped that. So
yeah. And see, we've got our flockers stretching as well for these ends.
Yeah,
and
we got it.
I like the idea of instead of giving him the out for attempting the catch, give him the in for the veteran savvy drop.
The savvy. I love it.
Garrett Taylor with the in. We had amazing football luck last week. Out, we used up all our football luck this week.
Turns out that's accurate. Michael Paul came in for the Ring of Honor also. He says, out, WTF. I mean, I know we're playing from behind the whole game, but this is still pathetic. And he puts a screenshot of our rushing attempts. Penny, 6 for 15. Kenneth Walker III, 4 for 10. Homer had 2 for 9, and then Gino had one as well, or whatever, 2. The bottom line is Michael Paul ain't wrong. We never got the run game going, and we never. It's like once we're behind where we were, it's easy to say, well, you can't. You gotta throw the ball, sure. But on that 4th down play where we punted 4th and 1 from our own 22, we went run, run, run. And the second one where we didn't block Bosa for a tackle for a loss is the friggin' reason we didn't get more attempts at running the ball, because we couldn't friggin' convert.
Yeah, and really, even down 13, I'm okay with if you want this to be your identity on offense. If you're going to have Geno Smith as your quarterback, you have to find a way to get in more rush attempts. Yep. I mean, the Tennessee Titans, they have Derrick Henry. You don't see them going away from the run in the 4th quarter. In fact, that's how they beat and made the comeback on the Seahawks in the opening game last year in the home opener. So I want to see our team, if that's going to be our identity, then you've got to run the football.
Agree.
Carr with 3 ins. We could have just, we could have taken the day off here, Clinton, and just gone with Carr's 3 ins right here. In, Lockett continues to be consistently great. In, that fantastic grab by DK, despite the penalty, bringing it back. In, I wasn't able to watch most of this game live due to my schedule. Well, maybe we couldn't have used that 3rd in, but good for Carr.
Yeah, good for Carr. Good for Carr. And yet here we are. You and I had to rewatch this game because we've decided to make this part of our life. Hey, we all have choices. It's okay. All right, John Ryan's face to close this thing out. I'm going to start at the end. It ends with a puke emoji. It starts with an in emoji. In, one step closer to the first draft choice. Blech.
I would have liked to have gotten there with a series of Denver losses throughout the season. But if we want to look at it on our side too, hey, that's one way to point at a little bit of optimism coming out of the loss, I suppose.
Yes, we got 2 tickets to paradise. We'll see. Hold on loosely, and we'll get there somehow, right? Hey, we're 1-1. That's not a bad start. The games feel diametrically opposed to each other in some ways. Mm-hmm. So it's a bipolar start. We haven't scored a point in 6 quarters. I have but one request. If we win the coin toss versus the Falcons at home, take the friggin' ball. Ooh. Take the ball. I know we won't, and I can't even blame Carroll, because if we don't throw a DJ Dallas interception, then we're down 6. We're getting the ball back with a chance to go up, and then we're getting the ball in the 3rd quarter. So I know he won't do it, but we haven't scored in 6 quarters. For the love of Pete Carroll, win the coin toss and take the freaking ball and go score a touchdown.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.